Ambassador Victoria Chen straightened her diplomatic uniform as she entered the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Federation. The massive chamber, designed to accommodate representatives from over 200 known civilizations, gleamed with ethereal light that seemed to shift and change based on each species' visual perception. Today would be different. Today, humanity would finally show its cards. The air buzzed with tension as Victoria took her place at the curved diplomatic table reserved for Earth's delegation. She could feel the weight of countless alien eyes upon her, some curious, others suspicious, many openly hostile. 20 years after humanity's official introduction to the galactic community, they still faced discrimination and fear from species that viewed them as unpredictable primitives who had somehow stumbled upon faster-than-light travel. Ambassador Chen, her aide, Marcus Rodriguez, whispered beside her, "The Corthian delegation is already positioning themselves to bring up the expansion complaints again." Victoria allowed herself a small smile. Let them. Everything is proceeding exactly as planned. The crystalline chime of the assembly bell resonated through the chamber, signaling the beginning of the 892nd Galactic Assembly Session. High Mediator Zixlar, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid-shaped force field, raised what passed for its hands to bring order. Representatives of the Galactic Federation. Zixlar's voice echoed directly in every being's mind. Adjusted for their specific cognitive patterns, we convene to address matters of great importance to our collective future. Victoria sat back, observing the subtle shifts in body language from the various delegations. The insectoid Vrexnil clicked their mandibles in anticipation. The aquatic Delphians floated serenely in their water-filled containment spheres. The crystalline Quarrens reflected light in patterns that indicated nervousness. As predicted, it wasn't long before the Corthian ambassador, Imperator Drakthul, rose to speak. His forearms spread wide, his scaled face twisted in what passed for righteous indignation among his warrior species. "We must address the human question." Drakthul's voice boomed through the chamber. For 2 decades, these upstarts have expanded aggressively, established colonies in disputed territories, and refused to fully share their technological advancements as required by Federation Charter. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Victoria remained motionless, her expression neutral, as Drakthul continued his tirade. They claim peaceful intentions, yet their military capabilities grow at an alarming rate. They possess a disturbing capacity for violence, as their own history demonstrates. I demand that humanity's expansion be halted immediately, pending a full investigation of their true intentions. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species voiced support for the Corthians, while others called for moderation. Through it all, Victoria sat calmly, waiting for the perfect moment. When High Mediator Zixlar finally called for order again, Victoria rose smoothly to her feet. The chamber fell silent, 100 different forms of visual perception focused on the human ambassador. "Esteemed representatives," Victoria began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "I thank Imperator Drakthul for raising these concerns. It gives me the opportunity to address several misconceptions about humanity and our place in this federation." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembly. "First, let me assure you that humanity has followed every regulation regarding expansion and colonization. Our growth rate is well within acceptable parameters, and our colonies are established only in unclaimed sectors." "Lies," Drakthul interrupted. "The humans have secret installations throughout the galaxy." Victoria's smile grew slightly wider. "Imperator, if you have evidence of such installations, I invite you to present it. Otherwise, I must insist on continuing without interruption." The Corthian fell silent, his scales flushing with barely contained anger. "As for our military capabilities," Victoria continued, "yes, they have grown. But consider this. In 20 years, humanity has been attacked 17 times by various species who feared us. Each time, we defended ourselves proportionally. Each time, we offered peace afterward. Can any other species here claim such restraint? Several ambassadors shifted uncomfortably. The truth of her words was undeniable. Now, Victoria said, her tone changing subtly, I believe it's time to address the real issue. The fear that many of you feel toward humanity. She touched a control on her data pad, and suddenly, holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber. Documents, schematics, and strategic analyses floated in the air, visible to all. What is the meaning of this? Demanded Ambassador Thrix of the Zentari Collective. Victoria's expression hardened. 3 days ago, someone attempted to breach Earth's secure databases. They were looking for information about our military capabilities and expansion plans. The breach was unsuccessful, but it did reveal something interesting. She gestured, and the holographic displays shifted to show a complex web of connections between various species intelligence agencies. It seems that at least 37 member species have been collaborating on intelligence-gathering operations against Earth. Operations that violate multiple Federation treaties, I might add. The chamber exploded into chaos. Accusations flew, denials were shouted, and several ambassadors attempted to leave. Silence. The High Mediator's command reverberated through every mind, compelling obedience. Ambassador Chen, these are serious allegations. Do you have proof? Victoria nodded. Not only do I have proof, High Mediator, but I also have something else. She paused, letting the tension build. You see, while these species were busy trying to spy on us, they failed to consider one crucial fact about humanity. She touched another control, and the displays changed again. This time, they showed detailed strategic analyses, technological assessments, and contingency plans. Plans for every single species in the chamber. We've been watching you too, Victoria said softly, her words falling into the stunned silence like hammer blows. And we have contingency plans for every single one of you. The reaction was immediate and visceral. The Korthian ambassador roared in outrage. The Vrexnil queen emitted a high-pitched shriek that sent her drones into a defensive formation. The Delphians' water spheres turned murky with stress chemicals. This is an act of war, Drakthul bellowed. No, Victoria corrected him, her voice cold as space itself. This is preparation. You see, humanity learned long ago that hope for the best must always be balanced with preparation for the worst. We want peace. We want cooperation. But we will not be caught unprepared if others choose conflict. She gestured at the displays. These plans are not aggressive strategies. They are defensive protocols designed to protect humanity if any species decides to act against us. And now you all know we have them. The implications hung heavy in the air. Every species present now understood that Earth had studied them, analyzed their weaknesses, and prepared for potential conflict. More importantly, they realized that humanity had done all this while maintaining a facade of diplomatic naivety. You've been playing us all along, whispered the ethereal ambassador Yilara of the Nebula Confederation. Victoria's expression softened slightly. No, Ambassador, we've been protecting ourselves. There's a difference. She looked around the chamber, meeting the gaze of each representative. The question now is, what happens next? The High Mediator's energy field pulsed with uncertainty. Ambassador Chen, this revelation, it changes everything. Does it? Victoria asked. Or does it simply level the playing field? Now everyone knows where they stand. Now, perhaps, we can have truly honest discussions about our collective future. She deactivated the holographic displays. Earth's position remains unchanged. We seek peaceful coexistence. We offer fair trade and cultural exchange. But we will not be victims, and we will not apologize for being prepared to defend ourselves. The chamber remained silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had just revealed itself as far more sophisticated and strategic than anyone had imagined. The primitive newcomers had been playing chess, while everyone else thought they were playing checkers. Victoria sat down, her posture relaxed but alert. She had just fundamentally altered the power dynamics of the Galactic Federation with a simple revelation. Now it was time to see how the other species would respond. As the stunned silence continued, she allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. Phase 1 was complete. The real game was about to begin. The aftermath of Victoria's revelation rippled through the Galactic Federation like a shockwave through space. The Grand Assembly Hall had dissolved into chaos, with species frantically attempting to communicate with their home worlds, others engaging in heated debates, and a few sitting in stunned silence, processing the implications of humanity's strategic depth. High Mediator Zixlar called for a 3-hour recess, an unprecedented decision in Federation history. Victoria used this time wisely, retreating to the human delegation's private chambers with her team. The Delphians have already requested a private meeting, Marcus reported, scrolling through messages on his datapad. So have the Quarrens, the Nebula Confederation, and surprisingly, the Frexnel. Victoria nodded, unsurprised. Schedule them all. Stagger them 30 minutes apart. And Marcus, make sure our security protocols are at maximum. Some species might react poorly. As the first private meetings began, Victoria noticed a pattern emerging. The aquatic Delphians, represented by Ambassador Coral Wave Singing, floated nervously in their mobile tank. Ambassador Chen, Coral Wave Singing's translated voice warbled. We must know. How detailed are these contingency plans? What have you discovered about our defenses? Victoria leaned forward, her expression serious but not threatening. Detailed enough to ensure mutual destruction would be the only outcome of any conflict. But that's precisely the point, Ambassador. These plans aren't meant to be used. They're meant to prevent the need for their use. The Delphians' chromatophores flickered in contemplation. You've turned the concept of mutually assured destruction into a diplomatic tool. Precisely, Victoria confirmed. On Earth, we call it deterrence theory. The best battles are the ones never fought. Each subsequent meeting followed a similar pattern. Fear, followed by understanding, followed by a grudging respect for humanity's strategic thinking. By the time the assembly reconvened, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. But not everyone was ready to accept this new reality. Imperator Drakthol and his coalition of militaristic species had used the recess to form a united front. This cannot stand. Drakthol roared as the session resumed. The humans have essentially threatened every species here. They must be expelled from the Federation immediately. Victoria stood again, but this time she wasn't alone. To the surprise of many, Ambassador Yilara of the Nebula Confederation rose beside her. The Corthian speaks from fear. Yilara's ethereal voice resonated. But I have communed with Ambassador Chen. The humans have not threatened us. They have simply revealed what every species here has already done in secret. A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. The Frexnil Queen clicked her mandibles and added her support. The hive mind has analyzed the situation. Humans have demonstrated strategic wisdom, not aggression. Drakthol's scales darkened with rage. You're all fools. Can't you see what they're doing? They're manipulating you. No, Imperator, Victoria interjected calmly. We're being honest, something that seems to be in short supply in this Federation. She turned to address the entire assembly. Every species here has contingency plans. Every species here has studied potential threats. The only difference is that we've admitted it. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. But there's something else you should know. These plans, they're not just defensive protocols. They're also frameworks for cooperation. The holographic displays activated again, but this time they showed something different. Detailed analyses of each species' strengths, potential contributions to mutual defense, trade opportunities, and collaborative research possibilities. You see, Victoria explained, understanding each other's capabilities isn't just about preparing for conflict. It's about identifying how we can work together more effectively. The Delphians' underwater technologies could revolutionize oceanic colonization. The Frexnil's hive mind processing could advance our computational capabilities exponentially. The Quarren's crystalline matrices could transform our energy storage systems. Species after species saw their unique attributes highlighted not as vulnerabilities to be exploited, but as strengths to be celebrated and integrated into a greater whole. This is manipulation, Drakthul insisted, but his voice had lost its conviction. This is vision, corrected High Mediator Zixlar, speaking for the first time since the revelation. Ambassador Chen, am I correct in understanding that humanity's true intention was never domination, but integration? Victoria nodded. We learned from our own history, High Mediator. Conflict is easy. Cooperation is hard. But cooperation is the only path to true advancement. We needed to level the playing field before we could build something better on it. The tide had turned. Species that had been hostile moments before now saw the potential in humanity's approach. Even some of Drakthul's allies began to distance themselves from his hardline stance. I propose a vote, announced Ambassador Thrix of the Zentari Collective. Not on humanity's expulsion, but on the formation of a new committee. One dedicated to transparent strategic planning and mutual defense cooperation, led by Earth. The proposal sent shockwaves through the chamber. For humanity to go from facing potential expulsion to being offered leadership of a major Federation initiative in the span of a single session was unprecedented. This is absurd, Drakthul protested, but he was increasingly isolated. The vote was called. One by one, species cast their decisions. The result was overwhelming. 147 in favor, 23 against, 30 abstentions. Humanity would lead the new Strategic Cooperation Committee. As the session concluded, Victoria found herself surrounded by ambassadors eager to discuss collaboration opportunities. The fear and suspicion that had defined humanity's relationship with the Federation had transformed into respect and curiosity. Later that evening, in the human delegation's quarters, Marcus raised a glass of synthesized champagne to the most audacious diplomatic gambit in human history. Victoria smiled, clinking her glass against his. To Phase 2. Phase 2, Marcus asked, surprised. Oh yes, Victoria replied, her eyes gleaming. This was just the beginning. Now that we've shown them we understand the game, it's time to change it entirely. She walked to the window, looking out at the stars that represented countless civilizations. We didn't reveal our contingency plans just to gain respect or power. We did it to demonstrate that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to build. And what exactly are we building? Marcus inquired. A new kind of federation, Victoria answered. One based on genuine trust, not mutual fear. One where species share their strengths openly, not hide them defensively. One where humanity can finally show what we're truly capable of when we're not fighting for survival. The next day, as the Strategic Cooperation Committee held its inaugural meeting, the transformation was already visible. Species that had never cooperated before were sharing technologies. Defense strategies were being redesigned for mutual protection rather than individual security. Trade agreements were being rewritten to benefit all parties. Imperator Drakthul and his remaining allies watched from the sidelines, their influence waning with each passing hour. They had failed to understand a fundamental truth about humanity. We were at our most dangerous not when threatened, but when given the opportunity to lead. 6 months later, the Galactic Federation had undergone its most significant transformation in millennia. The Strategic Cooperation Committee had evolved into the cornerstone of a new era of transparency and collaboration. Border disputes were being resolved through shared development projects. Military expenditures were being redirected to scientific research and exploration. And at the center of it all stood humanity, no longer the feared newcomers, but the architects of a new galactic order. Victoria Chen's gambit had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest expectations. In her final report to Earth's government, Victoria wrote, We came to the stars seeking our place among them. We found it not through force or deception, but through the courage to be vulnerable and the wisdom to show our strength. The contingency plans that once prepared us for war have become the foundation for lasting peace. As she sealed the report, Marcus entered her office. The Corthians have requested membership in the Strategic Cooperation Committee, he announced, barely containing his amusement. Victoria laughed. Even Drakthul. Especially Drakthul. He says he wants to learn from the masters of strategic thinking. Well, Victoria mused, I suppose everyone deserves a second chance. After all, that's what this is all about. She looked out at the stars once more, seeing not potential threats, but infinite possibilities. Humanity had played its cards, and in doing so, had changed the game entirely. The future of the galaxy had never looked brighter. What's next? Marcus asked. Victoria smiled. Now we show them what humanity can really do when we're working with friends instead of preparing for enemies. The contingency plans were just the beginning. Wait until they see our cooperation protocols. And with that, Ambassador Victoria Chen returned to her work, crafting the next chapter in humanity's journey among the stars. The day Earth revealed its contingency plans would be remembered not as a moment of tension, but as the turning point when the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its ability to prepare for war, but in its capacity to build lasting peace. The room had indeed fallen silent when the human revealed their plans. But from that silence had emerged a symphony of cooperation that would echo through the cosmos for generations to come.